Welcome back to the Garden Hutch. Today we're going to discuss November in your garden. Let's get going. The only thing consistent about November is that the weather is inconsistent. Today here in 7B, it's going to be almost 80. This time next week, I believe the high is going to be 50. So as you can see, not just zone to zone does it vary, but it varies a lot in most zones from the high in 1 month to the lows and such. So the one thing that we're going to discuss to start with are things that are consistent zone to zone. But before we get into all that, I just wanted to say, if you're watching this and you enjoy it, do us a solid, hit the subscribe button. Helps us meet our goals. Hit the little thumbs up. It helps us get recommended. With that being said, let's check out a few of these things. Well, the one thing that is for sure consistent across most of the zones are the leaves falling. We have these massive oak trees down here at the bottom of the old garden, and they drop a ton of leaves. Now here on the Garden Hutch, we use these leaves quite a bit. We use them to make leaf mulch, we use them to make leaf mold, and we use them to cover our gardens in the winter. So it's kind of important to make sure that we harvest these natural resources when we can. Number one, they're all organic. They're not going to add chemicals or anything into your soil. So that's the first thing to think about. The second thing to think about is the soil is made to decompose these things. It's like the natural nitrogen cycle. So it's good to put all of this natural resource to use. And for us here on the homestead, the number one attraction to using leaves is they are free. So another thing that all of us gardeners are going to have to try to get done in November is to get our raised beds and our in-ground beds covered. Now we've done videos on this, on how we winterize ours. It doesn't matter how you winterize it, if you use winter plants to cover them, or cover crops is what they're called, or if you use leaves, if you use tarps, any of that kind of stuff. The important thing is to make sure that you get something covering your gardens to prevent all the harsh climate from the wintertime of blowing away your topsoil or leaching too many of your nutrients. Now that's a big thing on your in-ground beds, is leaching. So we want to make sure that we avoid that if you are doing in-ground beds. So make sure, no matter where you live, if you have the chance in November, to get your gardens covered. So now we'll move on to sort of the little microclimates that dot the world here. The big one for you folks up north or in colder climates are going to be snow, and that stuff is coming up quick. In fact, I have some friends that live up north that were just telling me that they were getting their snow blowers and that sort of stuff ready to go. And that just kind of gave me an idea to sort of remind everyone that if you do live in an area where you get an abundance of snow, it's a great time to get out and change the oil, make sure belts, that sort of stuff on your snow blower are functioning. Last thing you want to do is have 36 inches of snow on the sidewalk or your driveway, wake up, find out your snowblower is not working, and you got to go out and shovel that stuff by hand. That's no fun. It's also a good idea, and this is something that we do here even in 7B during November, is we make sure that we stock up right now on the de-icer for the ramps for the house, any of the garden paths, that sort of stuff. We only use that stuff around the house. We don't use it close to the gardens or whatever, but it is a good idea to have it now. And what happens here in Arkansas anyway is there'll be, like 20% chance of ice in a day or two, and you won't be able to find de-icer anywhere. And for some reason, milk or bread either. I haven't figured that out. But anyway, that's just another thing to think about right now in November for your gardens. Make sure that any equipment you need for the snow is ready to go. All right, we're gonna move a little further south now and start talking about areas that still have fall gardens, that their freeze dates or the hard freezes may still be a month away or so. And that includes us here in 7B. So what we're doing here at this point is we are prepping to try to extend our growing season as long as possible. So, you know, we've got our carrots staged out here. We planted these and then we planted those later, hoping that we would get come up in stages, and it looks like they're doing really well. This whole bed down here are young carrots, so we're hoping that those will come out right at the end of the year or at the turn of the year. We've got the turnip greens. If the greens, we'll start eating them, and we have been lately. They're mature enough now to cook in a pot, so we love that time of year. So what we'll do is we'll take out, start at one end, and we'll start working down, and as we clear space, we'll replant turnips right up until we simply can't do that anymore. And then of course come February next year, we'll start in the pallet gardens for that. But what I really wanted to show you is the impressive part about the fall, if you can plan it correctly, is you can do one of these salad gardens. You can see the size of these radishes. I pulled this just to kind of show everybody. But what we're doing is this side of the bed is what we've been eating on, and you can see it's a little thinner. Now we start right there with that butter crunch and thin it out daily. This is the leaf lettuce that we pull. In between those was a row of radishes that we've already eaten. And this was the first row of radishes that we ate, and you can see in another week or so it's going to be ready to pick and pull, and you can use the greens on it for part of your salad to go, you know, to supplement with the other stuff. But anyway, the point is that as we move through here, we'll eat this row here, and when that's done, we'll go through, cultivate the soil, and we'll replant, and we'll do that right up until the weather dictates that we can't do salad anymore. So if you're in an area like ours, you can have salad through most of the year. You know, it'll probably die off end of December, early January, and then we'll plant again early February. So you're looking at like 2 months that we don't grow salad. And then our beets over here, these will come out the same way. What we plan on doing is, you can see the little spots on this backside. There's a culprit in the garden that likes to dig in our beets for some reason. See if we can find who that is. It's that guy right there. He likes to dig in my gardens. And we're gonna leave you here with a few last things. One of the things that I like to do in November is I like to clean up around all of my garden beds. When I was prepping for this video, I realized that I still had tomato cages, I had hand tools, my greenhouses were a wreck from just, you know, putting things in there. I'll get it later, I'll do it later, that sort of thing. Because let's be fair, right up until this point of the year as a gardener, everything is hectic. Things are going crazy, and so you save as much time as you can. November is a great time to get caught up on that sort of thing. Another thing that we like to do is we like to just go through and do a tour around the garden areas to find out if there was any major runoff, anything that you'll need to fill in from a hole standpoint before the next year. Now we have a unique situation to some people because we have free-ranging chickens. Chickens love nothing more than to scratch in dirt and dig holes and that sort of stuff. So every year I have to go through with a rake and I go through all of my garden spaces, level everything out, and then I'll bring in a bit of topsoil to help supplement the soil over time. Especially with the raised beds, it's good because you like to build up a little bit of soil around the bottom of them to prevent a whole lot of water from escaping if you can do that. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Just a few things to do in November that's going to help you have a great spring and summer garden. As always, I appreciate you folks sticking around. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Peace.